I have a bit of a confession to make. I haven't necessarily played every single game on Famidaily before I pop it in to record. There's quite a few games that I get to just check off the box on the list. See all of the baseball games. In the case of Jikuu Yuten Debias, I got the idea in my head that it was a very different type of game. I thought it was just going to be a Dragon Quest copy. That would have been fine, it's just difficult for me to dedicate time to get into those games. So I paid my $1 for a copy, got it, and just dropped it into my collection. And then while indexing some stuff, I realized that it was an action-adventure game. And that's the kind of thing I'd like to at least try out, but by that point I had already started Famidaily, and so I thought I'd leave it for when I recorded the episode. So here we are, looking at Jikuu Yuten Debias for the first time together. And I can be pretty confident that it's likely your first time seeing this, or at least the first time you can remember seeing this, because Debias is not a popular game, even in Japan. In fact, the only real comments I could find about the game from Japanese sources were complaints about the copy protection. That's right, a Famicom cartridge had a copy protection scheme. The story of Debias is a brief one even by the standards of Famicom games. You're the descendant of the great hero Debias, and there's some bad guys. Go get them. The main enemies in this game are the 3 Gorgons and Satan, which I have to admit is at least novel. When the game starts, it drops you on the outskirts of town with a dagger and nothing else. The first thing you're going to notice is that the controls are backwards. B is jump, and A is attack. Now be careful you don't get those backwards as you're playing, because you can accidentally attack townspeople, and that would make your game unwinnable. To talk to people, you have to hit start to go into the submenu, and the first option is talk. It's also apparently read and search, since you also select talk to interact with background objects. You won't make it very far into town before you find out about the day-night cycle. When night falls, all the townspeople run off, and the village is filled with monsters. You're going to want to grind up some money on those guys for a while. They're a much better source of cash than anything else you're going to find for a long time. When the sun comes up, you can stop by this woman's house in order to get a suit of armor. The king has given you the key to enter a dungeon, but before you do that, you'll probably also want to get a new weapon, and maybe buy some bread which is used to recover health. You equip items by hitting start, and the second option is for weapons, while the third is for armor. It's time to head into that dungeon. Inside, you're going to find some enemies to beat up, of course, and some truly awful platforming. You can't edge your way off these. Take one step off the side, and you just tumble down. You can press up to get a higher jump, though. If you fall into water, you take some damage but bounce around for a bit, so it is possible to get back out again if you do fall in the water. The important thing in the dungeon is that some of the monsters can help you build up tech and spirit. The higher the tech number is, the faster your attacks are. With a low tech, your attacks can be very unresponsive. Some of the monsters are much more nimble than you, and that slow response means that you're going to get hit. It also makes Debias feel very sluggish to play. It looks like it should be a fast-paced action game, but you attack so slowly. Defeated enemies can drop some health potions, some money, or some keys. And keys are used in the dungeon to open certain doors. The doors that require keys look exactly like the doors that don't require keys, though. You'll want to explore all the sub-rooms because you can get some additional items, rescue captured townspeople, or just get some information on what you're supposed to be doing. If you die while you're working your way through the dungeon, you can continue in the room you left off in, at the cost of half your tech and gold. Now that may not seem like a big deal, but you die in about 4 hits. The platforming is bad enough that you're probably going to get killed by that a few times. And once you reach the end of the dungeon, you have to have at least 40 tech. because now it's time to talk about that last space in the menu, Aaron. Aaron is your mystical amulet that connects you to a source of divine information. Or, to put it another way, it's the copy protection wheel. At the cost of spirit, you can use the amulet to get a basic hint, to teleport back to town, or to ask a question. What questions you can ask depend on how much tech you have. The questions are, how many townspeople are trapped in the dungeon? How far is it to the Gorgon's room? Is it okay to go on? Which is a way to ask if you've missed anything essential. And then the final, most important question, which door do I use? This is not a consistent thing, even after you've already visited the room and gotten the correct answer. When you select one of those questions, you're given a direction for the sword and a symbol. On the copy protection wheel, you put the symbol at the top, and you rotate the inside wheel until the sword is pointing in the correct direction. And that gives you the answer. In my playthrough, I got to a second room where I had to ask the door question, and then I kept getting wrong answers, probably because I was missing something. Setting aside that code wheel for a moment, I feel like Debias doesn't go egregiously wrong, but it also doesn't do anything really right. The combat feels clunky because you're so slow. You have to grind up cash around town waiting for the day-night cycle. And some of the stuff in the dungeon is just impossible to see. What I wound up doing to get enough tech to ask my questions was just outside the room with the doors. I stopped and just repeatedly fought the same enemies over and over again. Debias is a game that should be better than it is. Everything is just slightly off. But then we have that code wheel. And it's not hard these days to find a copy of the code wheel online. But that doesn't make it good. It's especially annoying when you have to earn tech to be able to ask the right question. It adds nothing to the game except a time sink. Strangely enough, that code wheel may be Debias' saving grace. I think the thought of having to deal with it is what prevents people from going back and playing it and realizing how awful the game is.